Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Kunja Bihari Yashoda Yamuna Ranjana Yamuna Vanachari Jai Kunja Bihari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Kunja Bihari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Mai Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Mai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Yogadharma Shila Harinam Sankirtan ki Srila Prabhupada ki Samveda Gaura Bhaktavinda ki Gaur Premanande Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। जय श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बल्लभ सुभद्रा माई श्री श्री गौरनिताय की। So we welcome all of you to the morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 25, the characteristics of King Puranjan, text number 48. Nalini Nalini Chaprag Dvara Ekatra Nirmite Avadhuta Sakasthabhyam Vishayam Yati Saurabham. Nalini Nalini Chaprag Dvara Vekatra Nirmite Avadhuta Sakastabhyam Vishayam Yati Saurabham. Nalini Nalini Chaprag Dvara Vekatra Nirmite Avadhuta Sakastabhyam Vishayam Yati Saurabham. Any Matajis? Word to word meaning, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nalini, of the name Nalini. Nalini, of the name Nalini. Cha, also. Prak, eastern. Dvarav, two gates. Ekatra, in one place. Nirmite, constructed. Avadhuta, of the name Avadhuta. Sakha, with his friend. Tabhyam, by those two gates. Vishayam, place. Yati, used to go. Saurabham, of the name Saurabha. Translation. Similarly, in the east, there were two sets of gates named Nalini and Nalini, and these were also constructed in one place. Through these gates, the king, accompanied by a friend named Avadhuta, used to go to the city of Saurabha. Purport. The two gates named Nalini and Nalini are the two nostrils. The living entity enjoys these two gates with the help of different avadhutas or airs, which constitute the breathing process. Through these gates, the living entity goes to the town of Saurabha or aroma. In other words, the nostrils, with the help of their friend, the air, enjoy various aromas in the material world. Nalini and Nalini are the pipes of the nostrils, through which one inhales and exhales, enjoying the aroma of sense pleasure. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadate Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrachatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashat Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaurasve Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyev Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam, pangul langayate girim, yat kripaha tamaham vande, Shri Guru Dinatarinam. Hare Krishna. So before I start speaking, I seek the blessings of His Grace Anandamai Prabhu and all the assembled Vaishnavas, so that I can glorify the Lord for the purification of my heart. So, in this particular section, we are seeing the description of uh, the uh, various holes in the body. So, this is basically the description where Narada Muni is telling a allegory story to King Prachina Barhishad, who was fully absorbed in fruitive activities. So Narada Muni, out of his compassion, he want to deliver him. So through this allegory story of Puranjan, he is trying to tell him how this material existence is miserable, material enjoyment is miserable, and better one engage one's mind and senses in the service of the Lord. So Puranjan is compared with the conditioned soul who wants to enjoy in this material world. And here that lady whom he saw represents the bewildered intelligence through which one makes various plans to enjoy. So when he saw that lady, he got attracted, and then he asked from where she came, and then she is describing the city where she is residing, and in that process she is describing the 9 gates of that city. So in that the description started day before yesterday about this 9 gates. So yesterday we discussed about 2 gates which are the eyes, and today the description is about the nostrils and the nose. So actually it is important for us to understand uh, who actually made this nostrils by which we smell, right? So people in this world actually um, want to keep themselves very healthy and beautiful. Hmm. And they actually think that this body, these senses belong to themselves, but actually it doesn't belong to them. Hmm. So here in the second canto, 10th chapter, the 20th verse, it is mentioned how this senses, especially the nose, came about. So it's a section of Virat Purusha. नासिके निरभिध्येतां धोद्युति नाभस्वति तत्र वायुर्गन्धवासो घ्राणो नासि जिगृक्षत. Thereafter, when the Supreme Purusha desired to smell odors, the nostrils and respiration were generated. Because the Supreme Purusha desired to smell, so that's why this nostrils and respiration was generated. The nostril instrument and odors came into existence, and the controlling deity of air carrying smell also became manifested. So Prabhupada says in the purport very nicely, the nasal instrument, odor, and the controlling deity of air, smelling, etc., all became manifested simultaneously when the Lord desired to smell. Huh? The Vedic mantras confirm the statement in the Upanishad statement that everything is first desired by the Supreme before the subordinate living entity can act upon it. The living entity can see only when the Lord sees. The living entity can smell only when the Lord smells, and so on. The idea is that the living entity cannot do anything independently. He can simply think of doing something independently, but he cannot act independently. This independence in thinking is there by the grace of the Lord, but the thinking can be given shape by the grace of the Lord. So the common saying is man proposes and God disposes. The whole explanation is on the subject of absolute dependence of the living entities and the absolute independence of the Supreme Lord. So, less intelligent persons claiming to be on an equal level with God must first prove themselves to be absolute and independent, and they must substantiate their claim of being one with God. So, very nice purport. So, wherein Prabhupada is clearly trying to tell us that how actually we are so much dependent on the Lord. Actually, one of the names of Lord is Hrishikesha, the controller of mind and senses. Okay. So here we see how he is the source of the senses, and although the also the nostrils, right? So first of all, this body is created by the Lord. It's not that it is coming on its own or by the mixing of man and woman. The whole process is actually made by Lord. Uh, so when the semen and ovum mixes in the and it is there in the womb of the mother, gradually the various senses grow at various months, and this whole process is designed by Lord only, right? And then the ability to smell, to perceive various sense objects of this world is ultimately created by Lord. The whole process to understand, right? And also, when the living entity actually wants to do various types of sense gratification, when he first desires, the super soul has to sanction. Okay. So until the super soul sanctions, the living entity cannot actually do any type of sense gratification, or he cannot act. Hmm? Because when he desires, the super soul actually, as per his karma and desires, he accordingly sanctions. And then through the material nature, it is provided. Means whatever sense objects or whatever he want to do, it is ordained through the material nature. So this is the whole process. So if the super soul doesn't sanction, so actually we cannot even eat or see or smell, nothing can happen, right? So much the Lord is involved. At every step we are actually dependent on the Lord, right? Even right now, if Lord doesn't sanction, I cannot speak, nor I can see. So much we are dependent on the Lord, but we are so foolish that we think that we are completely independent. So the living entity, when he is sent to this material world, he gets this material body with the senses to enjoy, because he want to enjoy separate from Krishna. So the Supreme Lord gives him various senses to enjoy the sense objects in this world in various ways. So, but actually, this body, the senses actually belong to the Lord. But the living entity actually becomes attached to this body, senses, and the various types of sense gratification he is getting. So, just like a small child, if you give him some dolls to play, some dolls, so we see that he starts playing and he gets pleasure by playing with those dolls. And then eventually, when you want to take it away from the child, generally we see that he doesn't give. He actually starts crying. So, same way, the living entity, conditioned soul in this material world also is like that. He gets this material body, the senses, and he imagines, he starts identifying with the body, becomes attached to the body, attached to the sense gratification, and he starts thinking that actually this body belongs to him. He identifies with the body and starts thinking that this body belongs to him. Because we think that this belongs to us, that's why we use the way we like it. Generally, when we own something, we start actually using it the way we like, right? Like whatever we may have, money or car or whatever, right? Because we feel that it belongs to me, right? But actually, the body, the senses doesn't belong to us. We are in the body, but we are not the body. And we actually don't deserve that body, or in the sense, we don't own that body. Because the real owner is Krishna, right? So, in ignorance, the living entity thinks that he is the owner of that body. That's the mistake of the living entity. Okay? So, this fundamental understanding should be clear. Okay? Because who is the owner? Right? Because we claim to be the proprietor, controller of this body. Right? So, when we claim the proprietorship and controllership, then obviously we enjoy it. First comes proprietorship, then controllership, then enjoyership. Right? Like Hiranyakashipu first became the proprietor of the three worlds. And then he controlled all the demigods, everyone. Control them as per his desires. Change the seasons, change everything the way he liked. And then he used them to enjoy. Right? So in similar way, we have the similar tendency, like Hiranyakashipu. Right? We want to be the controllers, proprietors, and enjoyers. Right? But actually, Krishna says, Bhoktaram Ignatapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Suradam Sarva Bhutanam Gnatva Mam Shantiricchati. If you want to achieve real peace, You have to understand only Krishna is the supreme enjoyer of all the sacrifices. Okay? And only He is the controller of everything, all the planets. It doesn't mean that only He is controller of planets, and also everything in the planet also. Not that, okay, He created planet and He left it for my enjoyment. That's what foolish living entity thinks. That this planet is meant for my enjoyment, whole Prakriti is meant for my enjoyment, and I'll exploit this Prakriti because I am the Purusha Bhav. But actually, the whole Prakriti is meant for the Supreme Purusha, right? Krishna. We are all Prakriti, but we foolishly think that we are Purusha, right? So, this basic understanding is very important for all of us. That this body, this senses, this mind, even the soul doesn't belong to you, right? The soul is also part and parcel of Krishna. So nothing belongs to us. That's why when one devotee approached Prabhupada and he was quite proud and telling that, Prabhupada, I want to renounce everything. So Prabhupada said, what do you have to renounce? He said, renounce the mentality that you have something to renounce. Because when you actually own something, you can renounce, right? But when you actually don't own anything, what is there to renounce, right? So actually, there is nothing to renounce because you don't own anything. Krishna actually gives you those things for particular time, some amount of time as per your karma. That's all, right? You don't own it. So, but the only thing which belongs to us is the free will. Krishna gives us that independence, minute independence, either to serve Him or not to serve Him. Okay, that's the only thing which actually belongs to us. Nothing else belongs to us in this world. So, we have to use that minute independence properly in the service of Krishna. Then we can be happy. So, we are given all these facilities to actually serve Krishna. Like I gave the example previously also. Just like a company giving us various facilities to serve the company, right? They give car or laptop or mobile that is meant to be used in the service of company, right? Then only they will give their company. Means they'll keep them in that company, right? And they'll give you salary. But then when these facilities are given, but if you use it for your own sense gratification, your own selfish purposes, then what happens? Everything is taken away. Or there is, instead of promotion, there is demotion, right? Or sometimes even removed. One is removed from the job. So similar way, Krishna is giving us all these facilities. For what purpose? That is also important. Not for your sense gratification. Right? Krishna is giving us for His sense gratification. The senses are meant to be engaged in His service. Not our service. Because He is the owner, not we. Okay? So then only the senses, the mind will be satisfied. We are trying to get happiness or pleasure through various ways of sense gratification, either through the eyes or nose or whatever, okay, various senses. But actually we see that no matter how much you try to enjoy through various senses, you are not satisfied. We are not satisfied because that is not the natural state of the soul. The soul is happy only in serving Krishna. Okay. So nothing else can satisfy the soul. Savai pumsham paro dharmo ito bhaktir adokshajay ahaituki apratihata eatma suprasidati. So we are looking for satisfaction in various ways and means. Okay. But that will never satisfy us. So Bhagavatam is telling us what will satisfy. Only unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service will only satisfy us. Okay, nothing else will satisfy. Like a fish out of water can never be satisfied even if you give the best of facilities. That's why we see that in this world, like people are not satisfied. No matter how rich they are, no matter how famous they are, still there is some amount of dissatisfaction, right? Like when nose, regarding nose, it is there. So I just remembered, I heard long back that one famous actress, she was not happy with her nose, how it looks. And she had several surgeries on the nose, and still she was not happy, right? So what is means why to so much worry about nose? It is nothing but a lump of flesh, right? Nose is nothing but lump of flesh. How it looks, how does it matter, right? But people are so much worried in the bodily conception of life. The main thing is whether it is working or not. That is that is the main worry, right? If it works, we should be grateful to God. Even if it doesn't work so nice, still we can be grateful that we got human form of life, right? But instead of that, people are worried about how it looks, what it looks. In the bodily conception, so much anxiety, right? Actually, one should meditate on Lord. How Lord is so great. Because when he inhales, when he exhales, like we see Mahavishnu. In one lecture I was hearing that when Mahavishnu exhales, we see all universes are coming out, right? And then when he inhales, the universes go in, right? So, but when we inhale, exhale, nothing happens. Means there is oxygen and at the max carbon dioxide coming out, and that's all. That little service we are doing, but but otherwise nothing else, right? We so many times exhale, inhale, nothing happens, right? But then when Lord inhales, exhales, see what happens, right? That is the greatness of Lord, right? So that's why we should not so much worry about this temporary illusory body. Okay, instead meditate and engage our mind and senses in the service of the Lord. That will only satisfy us. Okay, so the senses are conditioned for sense gratification. In the conditioned stage, they think that only this will make me happy. They don't understand how it is miserable. Like Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said that when some devotees were in Japan or so, when devotees were cooking puris in ghee, neighbors were complaining that what is this smell? Right? Very horrible, like that. Right? But when they were cooking meat or horrible things, they were not thinking that is horrible. The devotees were feeling obnoxious, smelling it. Right? Like sometimes we heard in China, they put all the dead animals, like all cockroaches, lizards, all such kind of things in water, and for several months, and then after that they drink that water, thinking it's like something like nectar. So devotees obviously will never like to even smell it, or to speak of drinking. So obnoxious, right? But how the conditioned souls find it nice? Because they are conditioned by ignorance. The living entity, actually, according to their nature, they are conditioned by particular modes. According to their desires and karma, they are conditioned by various modes. So, in mode of ignorance, living entity is happy to stay in such places and smell and eat all such kind of obnoxious things. Whereas devotees gradually, because they come to goodness and also gradually transcend that, So when they smell that, they feel obnoxious, right? Like we can also experience, like when we smell something non-veg, we can't tolerate in trains and all. Because we see that previously we might have eaten and liked those smells, but then now we feel very uncomfortable, because now we have come elevated ourselves to goodness at least. Uh, so because of that, we don't feel happy to smell all such kind of things, right? So but those who are in ignorance, like a pig, when it is in gutter, it still is very happy. It is happy to eat stool, it is happy to smell it, so it is feeling very nice. Any normal sane man will understand that, array, such a horrible situation, right? So same way conditioned souls are not able to realize how obnoxious is sense gratification, uh, but they think it is very nice because they are in ignorance. They are controlled by the mode of ignorance, right? So that's why we have to elevate ourselves by the process of devotional service, right? Then at least we'll realize that how we are suffering so much. In ignorance, one actually thinks suffering is happiness, right? Actually in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells that how sense gratification is actually like poison, huh? But the conditioned soul feels it like nectar. Whereas for a devotee, actually, he can easily understand that this is poisonous. So, but gradually, when he starts practicing, he realizes. So, on the other hand, yeah, Krishna consciousness is actually nectarian. But for conditioned soul, it appears like poison. He doesn't like it because they are in mode of passion ignorance. So that's why one should engage the mind senses in service of Lord. Atha Shri Krishna Namadi Na Bhaved Grahim Indriye Sevon Mukhehi Jivado Swayameva Spuratiyada. So now our senses are conditioned for sense gratification. But when you engage in service of Krishna, starting with the tongue, Prabhupada says, by chanting Hare Krishna and by honoring Prasadam, that is how first we start the process in service of Lord. And by that, gradually we elevate ourselves and Swayamema Spuratiyada. Krishna reveals everything, including himself. People want to see Krishna, experience Krishna, but actually they have to be qualified. So for that they have to engage their senses in the service of the Lord. Okay, Sarva Upadi Vinirmuktam Tat Paratvena Nirmalam Hrishikesha Hrishikena Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate. Give up all your false resignations that you are this body, that you belong to particular state, that you are a man, that you are this, you are that engineer. All this are false resignations. Understand that you are a soul, part and parcel of Krishna, and engage your senses in Lord Hrishikesha, because he is the master, he is the owner of the senses. Okay, then you will be satisfied, otherwise no satisfaction. Okay, so the senses are actually the sense gratification is compared with poison. Okay, so this poison has to be removed. Okay, then only the senses will act properly. Prabhupada gives the example of snakes. The senses are compared to snakes. Okay, so only when you remove the fangs of the snakes, then they, even if they bite, it will not harm you. So same way we have to remove that poison of sense gratification from the senses. That mentality, the enjoying mentality has to be removed. Okay, so that poison can be removed only by Krishna consciousness. No other way can you remove that enjoying mentality. Okay, Krishna can suck away all that poison, just like he sucked the poison from Putana, right? Krishna can remove that poison, just like he danced on Kaliya and removed all that poison. So we also have that poison in our heart, lust, greed, anger, all this. So we should allow Krishna to enter our heart and dance on our false ego, remove that poison. Okay, so that's why we have to chant sincerely, regularly, attentively, uh, the prescribed rounds, and more if possible, so that this poison goes away. Then only we can be properly situated. So, in the same second canto, there is a very nice description of what if we don't engage the senses, how they are compared to. So, we'll read those and we'll end. It's a very nice description given in the uh, second canto, third chapter, Pure Devotional Service. बिलेबतोरुक्रम विक्रमण्ये नाशृण्वतः कर्णपुते नरस्य जीवा सतीदार्दुरिकेव सूता नाचोपगायति उरुगाय गादा. One who has not listened to the messages about the prowess and marvelous acts of the personality of Godhead, and has not sung or chanted loudly the worthy songs about the Lord, is to be considered to possess ear holes like the holes of snakes and a tongue like the tongue of a frog. Prabhupada here mentions how the tongue should be engaged in glorifying the Lord, loudly speaking the glories of the Lord. So he tells how the devotees should loudly spread the glories of the Lord. There is so much rubbish going on in the name of songs and movies, Prabhupada says, and newspapers, where they are loudly telling, no, enjoy, do sense gratification. So Prabhupada is telling, on the other hand, we should actually go out and spread the glories of the Lord so that people hear and change. Next. Bhara param patta kirita justam api utam mangam namaname mukundam shavo karo no kurute saparyam hare lasatkanchana kankanava. The upper portion of the body, though crowned with a silk turban, is only a heavy burden if not bowed down before the personality of Godhead, who can award mukti, freedom. And the hands, though decorated with glittering bangles, are like those of a dead man if not engaged in the service of the personality of Godhead, Hari. So why they are comparing with dead man or all this? Somebody may say why they are comparing tongue with tongue of frog or holes of snakes, because actually they are meant to be engaged in service of the Lord, because they belong to Lord. We are part and parcel of Lord. So, but because you are using it for your sense gratification, that's why the Bhagavatam is criticizing you. Right? Why the Bhagavatam is criticizing you? Because you are actually a thief. Because it said in Bhagavatam, those who don't engage in the service of the Lord are thieves and rogues, because they are taking everything from the Lord, but they don't engage it in the service of the Lord. They use it for their own sense gratification. Because that is how the thieves are, right? They take from the owner and use for themselves. Yeah. Barhaite te nayane naranam lingani vishno naririkshato ye padauranam to dhroma janma bhujau bhajau kshetrani nano vrajato hareryo. The eyes which do not look at the symbolic representations of the personality of Godhead, Vishnu, his forms, name, quality, etc., are like those printed on the plumes of a peacock, and the legs which do not move to the holy places where the Lord is remembered are considered to be like tree trunks. Okay? Jivan chavo bhagavatangri renum najatu martyo abhilabhetayastu Shri Vishnu padya manujastu lasya swasan chavoyastu naveda gandham. Here the nose is coming. The person who has not at any time received the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord's pure devotee upon his head is certainly a dead body. And the person who has never experienced the aroma of the tulsi leaves from the lotus feet of the Lord is also a dead body, although breathing. So here very strongly Bhagavatam is saying that if you don't serve the Lord, you are compared with a dead body. Living also you are dead. Tadasmasaram hridayam batedam yadgrahyamaner harinamadheyai na vikriyeta tayada vikaro netre jalam gatra ruheshu harsha. Certainly that heart is steel framed, which in spite of once chanting the holy name of the Lord with concentration, does not change when ecstasy takes place. Tears fill the eyes and hair stand on end. So like this the description is given very nicely in the second canto. So we should learn from this that how all these senses, both the knowledge gathering senses and working senses, actually everything belongs to the Lord. And from so many lifetimes, I've been engaging this in the sense gratification. Okay, at least in this human form of life, I got this wonderful opportunity to understand who I am, and who God is, what is my relation with the Lord. And by mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we got the opportunity, even in this degraded Kali Yuga, to get the association of devotees and practice devotional service in the association of devotees. So we should be very, very grateful for this opportunity and use this opportunity to progress. Otherwise, actually, Prabhupada said we are most unfortunate. Those who come to Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada said they are fortunate. But those who come but leave, they are most unfortunate. So we should utilize this most valuable opportunity and engage in the service of Lord like King Ambarish, right? Savai mana Krishna padara vindayor vacham sivaikунఠ gunanu varnane karaur harer mandiram arjanadishu shrutau kata katauchatade Ghranam chatatpada sarabha saurabhe. So he says that how his mind is always engaged in thinking of the Lord. So, and his tongue is engaged always in singing the glories of the Lord. His hands in cleaning the temple of the Lord, right? His tongue in tasting the food offered to the Lord. His nose in smelling the flowers, tulsi offered at the lotus feet of the Lord. Like that, he engaged everything. His touch in touching the bodies of the devotees, embracing the devotees. And like that, he mentions how he engaged all his senses, all his desires in fulfilling the desires of the Lord. So that way, he is fully absorbed in the service of the Lord. King Ambarish, right? I heard that in one lecture that every day until 11 he would fully engage himself in deity worship and service of the Lord. So much absorbed in service of the Lord. Then he would actually start his right, whatever administration, right? So he was. That's why we can see that how he was completely undisturbed when dealing with Durvasa Muni. He could actually take shelter of the Lord. So all these great souls are teaching us how we should be engaged in the service of the Lord. So we have to develop that higher taste by engaging our mind and senses and in service of the Lord. Then only we can give up the lower taste of this world. Okay. So we'll end here. Any one question if anybody has? You have. Yes, this Prabhuji has.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. It was very nice class. Like how by we engaging in service of the Lord, we get purified. So I have a question. Like if a person is say so much in ignorance that he don't want to care Lord, even if he want to know, he doesn't want to. So what we can say it for him, or in what way?
If a person is not interested in hearing of the Lord,
Lord,
hearing about
but
the Lord, what we should do?
what we can do the best.
Yeah.
It
So it
can
is
be
said.
it can be either relatives or some person.
Yeah,
Who,
yeah.
yes.
तेषां अंतगत पापम जनानां पुण्यकर्मणां ते दंडमव निर्मुक्ता भजन्त मां दृढ़व्रता. So actually people who are too sinful actually cannot engage in the service of the Lord with determination. So that's why they should have that bhakti mukha sukruti. Until a person gets it, he cannot come to the service of the Lord. So we have to give them opportunity to develop that sukriti by giving him prasadam, because conditioned souls they don't like, obviously, because their senses are pulling them to sense gratification, passion and ignorance. They don't like to come to temple also. So uh, so we have to give them like opportunities to engage in service of the Lord. Anybody likes food, so give them prasadam, right? Also, sometimes people like to hear nice music. You can give them kirtans. Like I heard one Mataji, uh, her husband was not a devotee, so she very intelligently used to keep kirtans in his car while traveling, so that he will hear. So he liked kirtans. Slowly, slowly, he became a devotee. So, like that, we have to engage people according to their natures. Generally, prasadam everybody likes. So, even by tasting prasadam, gradually they get purified. Like that's what Prabhupada also changed all the hippies by kirtan and prasadam. Actually, when Prabhupada met the police commissioner in, I think, San Francisco or so, he asked him that how can we stop this crime? So much crime is happening. Prabhupada said, you arrange a big hall, call all the citizens of, I think, Los Angeles or San Francisco. He said, I will organize big Harinam and then we'll feed prasadam. These are the two weapons. So, because they are Krishna, so Prabhupada has faith. When people accept Krishna in this way, definitely they will change. So, for the mass people, actually, only Harinam Prasadam is the solution. Because very few come with the like Artho Ardharja Jignasu. Oh, where is Krishna? Who am I? No, no. Why I am suffering? Hardly. Manushyanam Sahasresh. Very, very rare in Kali Yuga especially. Right? So, so for mass of people, only Harinam Prasadam will work. So like that, we should try to engage them in the service of Lord, like that.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Anand Maipuru would like to add something.
That was the chief of police of Chicago.
Chicago. Okay.
Chicago is known as the crime capital of the world. And the police officer told the Prabhupada, we are trying our best, the government is trying its best to curb down the crime, but we are not successful. So he was asking from Prabhupada, what is your idea, what is your method to bring down the crime? And Prabhupada said like that, what you are telling.
Thank you. Harish. Okay, we'll end here. Acha.
If time permits.
So, okay, last.
Jai Shri Krishna. My question is that you said engage our senses in the service of God, Lord Krishna. Can you elaborate what is the service we can do with our senses to the Lord Krishna?
Yeah, so as I told at the end, how King Ambarish mentioned. So he engaged his tongue in chanting the holy names. So we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Then we can also, we like to eat. So we honor prasadam, we taste the food offered to Lord. Vegetarian, because Krishna likes only vegetarian. And then we like to hear. So we hear kirtans, we hear Bhagavatam, like that. So and also we like to see beautiful things. So see the wonderful, beautiful darshan of Lord, like that. And we like to travel here and there. So you can go to the holy places, Vrindavan, Mayapur, and then there hear the glories of the Lord. So like that we can engage our mind and senses in the service of the Lord. So by that gradually we get purified and we'll be satisfied. So we are all looking for happiness. But actually in material world, trying to engage the senses in sense gratification, actually there is little happiness but lot of misery. Because material world is designed in such a way that there is birth, old age, disease, death and various kind of miseries. Okay. But by engaging in service of Lord, you actually get purified and eventually go to spiritual world where there are no miseries at all. You will be completely satisfied. Okay? Hare Krishna. श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, सावेद गौर भक्तवृंद की जय.